You guys, there is some major influencer drama going on right now because Avery Woods interviewed Harry Jowsey on her podcast, and people feel like she went a little too far when she was asking him some questions. Like she was flirting even though she's married. People are feeling bad for her husband. They feel like she was saying just inappropriate things throughout this episode, and they are not happy. She has come out with an apology, and we are going to get into what was said in this podcast episode and what she had to say afterwards. All right, if you're not familiar with Avery Woods, she is a former nurse turned influencer and podcast host. She made a name for herself through her podcast Cheers, which was eventually picked up by Alex Cooper's Unwell Network. She's been blowing up on TikTok with over 2 million followers, has a solid audience on Instagram and YouTube, and her podcast typically covers topics like relationships, mental health, and family life. But after this last episode, it's unclear if people even want to keep tuning in. Under Alex Cooper's most recent TikTok that had nothing to do with Avery, they were literally telling her to cancel Avery's podcast, writing, "Please cancel Avery Woods' podcast. We don't want her." So what are people so upset about? Well, Avery recently sat down with reality TV's biggest red flag, Harry Jowsey. You know, the too hot to handle star who basically built his career off of being a professional flirt. And I don't know if she just thought that because he's known for being this F-boy, that she should be more rated R or something, but I fear that when she decided to be spicy in this episode, it just did not land the way that her or maybe the producers of her podcast thought that it was going to. According to the internet, Avery took things just way too far, made Harry visibly uncomfortable, and said things that were straight up inappropriate. People are calling it cringe, desperate, and like some people in the comments of Alex's video, or even saying that she should lose her platform. From the very start of the interview, Avery set the tone in a way that didn't sit right with a lot of people. She introduced herself as a milfy mommy who loves to talk about sex, which, okay, whatever, cool, right? All right. But the issue is that this is not really what her podcast is about, and it just felt forced or trying to be something that she wasn't, because she was trying to match Harry's energy. And the weird part is, the entire interview, Harry is trying to say that he's trying to change himself as a man. He's trying to be celibate. He doesn't like his reputation on TV. He's trying to change. But then she just keeps bringing up this reputation that we know, trying to be like, I'm just like you, you know, I'm married, but my husband, oh, don't worry about him type of deal. So it just went downhill. And I'll also say that a lot of the moments from the podcast that Avery has gotten called out for, they have been cut out of the podcast. So if you go to watch this episode, you'd probably be like, okay, there's really nothing that bad in here. I mean, you can definitely see that she's trying to come on to him in a certain way, but you know, a lot of the really bad moments have been cut out of the podcast, but a lot of them have still been going around online of people who clipped them before they were cut out of the podcast. One of the bigger moments that has really upset a lot of Avery's fans is one moment where Avery decided to go on a rant about religious mothers who criticize her online. She joked that Jesus was about to do things to these women, and it just turned into something that a lot of people found unnecessary.
Your bio, it's like Psalms 369,
Yeah.
blessed mommy of 4.
Yeah, like Jesus is gonna spank you, lady, if you keep it up.
Yeah, literally, he's gonna bend you over and your. Jesus is gonna go poo pirate on your ass if you keep up this bullshit.
I hope he does. Jesus.
They deserve it with no lube.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
People were also really unhappy with another statement that she made during the podcast where she talked about how she had a C-section when she gave birth, so she's pristine down there.
Life's great.
That.
Yeah.
I love having my out.
Jesus Christ.
Don't worry, guys. I had a C-section, so everything's pristine down there.
And people were just not loving that she was saying it as if she was like shaming women who didn't have a C-section to say that they aren't pristine or there's something wrong with them or one way is better than another. It wasn't sitting right, I'll tell you that. People were especially calling Avery out over the fact that they just felt bad for her husband in this episode because she was being overly flirty with Harry. And they just felt like, despite the fact that she said to him that her husband and her have been together for so long that he just doesn't care, everyone felt like he would in fact still care.
I've been with the same man for so long that it's just fine. So we're just going to talk really openly. I like to talk about sex. I like to answer questions about sex. I like to give my mommy MILF advice to
I love
other
this.
people.
Oh my God. Okay. I've been trying to be celibate though, so.
I mean, even Harry was uncomfortable answering things, bringing up her husband and saying that he was going to get in trouble for the conversation that they were having. And she was like, it's fine.
What's your type? What's your 10 out of 10?
Actually, I think it's an energy thing, which is kind of crazy.
I don't believe that for a second.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do need a description. I'm hoping it's basically me.
It is.
What's
no,
your...
I'm gonna be in trouble. Sorry, husband.
No,
but, like,
he's fine.
He's the best.
Baby,
I love
it's
him.
okay. Love you.
He's the best.
People felt like her husband would care, especially when she asked Harry to answer if she wasn't married, if he would hook up with her.
I'm married, but hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, I would do it.
Don't tell anyone else. Yeah, okay. Thanks for being here.
Wait, was that actually it?
Yeah.
Was it actually? No. No, it wasn't. Ask the question.
I'm married, but hypothetically speaking, would you hook up with me?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Woo! We got that on film. Thanks
Yeah.
for being here.
That's crazy.
Fans commented on the podcast episode saying, the way Avery is talking in this episode reminds me of when I was in high school and I was trying to fit in with the popular crowd. She's acting so unnatural and cringy. The C-section comment, how ignorant. The mocking of Christianity is not cute or funny. How dare you insult someone's religion? Avery, this is horrible. This episode was so weird. Avery was so flirty at times. If I was David, I would be ugly crying in the corner. This made me so uncomfortable. I feel so bad for her husband, and if he's okay with this, he's lying. Avery has since posted a TikTok where she's addressing the backlash she received from the episode, trying to say that it was a scripted episode and she apologized for the jokes she made.
First of all, I just want to say my podcast is a comedy podcast, and there are jokes that I should not make that cross lines, and I made a joke that crossed a line, and I'm so sorry. I have been very, very open about religion in general. You know, David's father was a pastor, and we've talked very openly on my podcast multiple times about our beliefs and why we believe those things. But I never, ever want to bash religion, bash someone's beliefs. We have so many people in our lives that are religious people and faithful people, and I 100% support them and love them no matter what. There are certain jokes that I should not make, and I regret that wholeheartedly. The episode that I did with Harry was scripted. These were questions that were, written by producers, and I probably should have spoken up and maybe dimmed it down a bit, and I chose not to. This is stuff that I have spoken very, very openly about on my social media for years. If you followed me for any sort of time on Instagram, I've done a segment called Saucy Saturday for probably close to 5 years now, where I've talked about the same subjects, and it's never been new.
She further addressed the jokes she made on the podcast that people were upset by, specifically when people said that she took it too far about Jesus.
I think, obviously when you're speaking about those subjects with a straight single man, it might not look the best. In my head, I don't think about it, because when the camera turns on, it's entertainment, right? Like, we are both podcast hosts, strictly for entertainment. There's nothing else going on. But when I brought up religion, there was no intention behind it besides explaining that a lot of the hate that I get is from people that are religious and have Bible verses in their bio. And that is because I speak on subjects that are very taboo, especially when it comes to the religious world. And a lot of people that are Christian don't like the subjects that I speak about, and so they send me really nasty, hateful messages. And that was what I was trying to say. The comments after were completely unnecessary, and I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said anything.
She was also saying that if her content isn't for you, then that's okay.
If my content isn't for you and I'm not the person for you, that's okay. I fully support you finding the people that are for you. I'm so used to speaking so freely about certain subjects that I've spoken on for so long that I sometimes forget that my online presence has grown so much more than it was, 5 years ago when I first started talking about stuff like this, that I'm bringing in an audience that might not be familiar with me personal. And so obviously those types of subjects and comments can be very shocking. Whereas, if you've been here for a while, then you kind of know that's how I've always operated. But it's probably time to, dim that down, and that's okay.
I know it's not just her running the podcast, so I won't blame this all entirely on her, but it kind of just felt like either they wanted her to match his energy and be this rated R F-boy character. I mean, at one point she's even saying like she's the female version of him, and I just don't think they really nailed that. It was giving more like, I want to be with you, I have a crush on you, and not so much we have insane chemistry and are both the same person. Like her referencing the Drake and Bobby episode, their chemistry, and the fact that Drake was giving her energy and she was giving it back to Drake, that was the reason why people were like, oh, they maybe, you know, have a little something going on here, or they would be a nice couple, because people saw they had chemistry, not anything that was forced. She was flat out trying to get him to say, I would F you, and she was basically saying the entire episode, I wanna F you.
I feel like I'm the
Perfect.
female version of you.
Are you? You could be.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say yeah, but now I'm like,
No. So you're great.
I'm worried that we're gonna get compared to Bobby and Drake, but I'm kind of okay with that.
Fans haven't been reacting well to what she had to say in her apology, saying that they still feel bad for her husband and don't understand why she seemed so out of character for this interview. But that's what Avery had to say about the whole podcast drama. Let me know what you guys think about all of this if you watched her podcast, and what you think about the moments that went viral recently. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.